What's on the stick, Vic? Oh, I mean cassette. About a week ago, I was on the Futures 8-bit site looking to order some new VIC-20 games, because we haven't done any Vic coverage for ages here on ChinnyVision, and I ordered 3 up, and when they arrived, there were in fact 4 games in the package, because Rod noticed it was me who was ordering, and I'd ordered the new games, and I'd missed one out. So we in fact have 4 games to review, so thanks to Rod for enclosing the extra game. We have Super Monza GP, Grand Theft Cygnus, SGATBG, I don't even know how you say that, and Rigel Attack. All part of the Futures 8-bit $6.99 range. In fact, I think Grand Theft Cygnus is $4.99. Rod's had to put the price up because, frankly, I questioned at the time when I last reviewed some of these games how he could make any money at $4.99, and the answer is he wasn't. So they are now $6.99 each. We will start off with Super Monza Grand Prix. This runs on a VIC-20 and needs 16K of expanded RAM. $6.99 to buy this. Start the game up and you get 2 game modes to select from. A racing mode and a time attack, and 3 difficulty levels for the racing mode. So we have a nice big car there. Colourful. Slightly scratchy picture that you always seem to get on the Vic. Off we go. Up to 200 miles an hour. Twitchy controls. I'm going to overtake this purple car. Use fire to accelerate, which caught me up the first time I did it because I'd accidentally left auto fire on my joystick. Oh, I couldn't get past there. I'd accidentally left auto fire on my joystick, and of course the Vic I don't think works with auto fire, so the car just stood there. But we're racing around. I assume it's Monza. I haven't checked the authenticity of the circuit, but I've got to get past this purple car. Just enough room to squeeze past. So I'm up to position 11. The aim is to finish in the top 3, ideally first. The instructions in the case are slightly sketchy, but I can tell you it's 5 laps and joystick use only. So the idea is actually to get to race for pole position, but you'll actually get a little screen if you get in 3rd, 2nd or 1st. So we're in 10th. And so far it's plain sailing, just 1 car at a time you're overtaking, and you've always got just enough width to go past. They don't do that annoying thing some racing games do where the cars suddenly veer in front of you as you approach them. They do actually always seem to follow their racing line. On to lap 2. But look at these huge graphics on the VIC-20. This is just running in 16K. You think how little 16K is. And most of that memory will be taking up all these big graphics. So it's lap 4 now, and now we're getting back markers as well as the cars we're racing. I'm in position 6. I've just overtaken a back marker, and that car that's going faster should be position 6. Can I get past? Oh, just. No, I didn't. I failed. Let's try that again. I thought I got past, and I haven't. So many back markers. Now, as the race goes on, it gets harder and harder. That's the beauty of it. It's not like many racing games where it just is the same difficulty as the game goes on. As you get further towards the lap 5 now, as you get closer to the end, you get more back markers coming through and just generally getting in your way because they're going slower. And the trick is sometimes you have to hang back, wait for them to go behind you, and then make a dive for it. So in position 5. See that yellow car? I don't think he's a back marker, but I think the purple car is. This is tricky now. This is really tricky. And remember, when you get good at it, you can go for one of the more difficult settings where you're back further on the grid. I've been overtaken again. Can I get back to 4th? Back to 4th. Can I get on the podium? I need 3rd. It's the final lap. Oh, it would have been the green car, wouldn't it? This is enormous fun. It really is. Fantastic for a VIC-20 game. There you go. I'm not on the podium. I finished 4th. The game is coded by AJ Layden, and as I say, requires 16k expansion on your VIC-20. There's also a time attack mode where you have to complete the circuit within a certain amount of time, or you don't get any more time. The idea is to survive, but there's a lot of traffic on the road, so you have to watch out. In all, it's probably the best VIC game of the year, certainly the best game since Cheesy Trials on the VIC-20. It's amazing to see games like this coming out on the VIC in the modern day. Rigel Attack is by the same coder as Super Monza Grand Prix. This time requires just an 8k memory expansion, but you all have the penultimate cartridge, right? So you've got up to 64k. It looks like a traditional Galaxions clone, kind of. Space Invaders Galaxions, with enemies coming down in waves. Actually, you know what? The shooting method kind of reminds you a little bit of Centipede, the way these things are coming down at the moment. There's power-ups available. Extra lives, increased firepower, and so on. The enemies shoot back. And so far you're thinking this is looking quite traditional. That's level 1 complete. But it varies between each level. So now we have a different enemy pattern. And then level 3, suddenly you're not shooting things, you're avoiding asteroids. And you can't shoot them. So the game has this constant variation in the gameplay. Level 4 and the baddies are getting quite aggressive now, and they can move around in different styles. So it's just ramping up the difficulty rather nicely. What strikes you in the first level is the traditional Space Invaders Galaxian style game is actually far more complex and has far more depth than you realise at the initial stage. Again, like Super Monza Grand Prix, an extremely polished game that gives you a taste of arcade action on your VIC. Grand Theft Cygus has rather striking artwork reminiscent of, I'm not quite sure what really, but I don't know, something. Anyway, 8k of memory expansion required, coded by Sheila Dixon, 2021, so not quite as new as the other games. You have to capture the swans, but you mustn't be caught by the queen. So you have to, each time you capture a swan, you'll be told about a hint of where the queen is. So I have a cursor there, that's my net. Hit a swan, I think. Let's use that one. A bit like Minesweeper, really. So the queen is 3 swans away, or 3 blocks away? 3 blocks away. It doesn't say if it's swans or blocks. 2 swans or blocks away. 1, 0. Well, if it's 0 away, shouldn't I be... Oh, no, it's the queen. Right, I've got 3 swans stolen there. So we will try again. So rather basic game, reminiscent of the original VIC-20 games that came out for the unexpanded VIC. I guess the reason it needs the 8k expansion is for that graphic of the queen shooting you. I can only imagine that is it. I'm now 1 swan away, 2 swans away. It's a bit like Minesweeper. Kind of, with swans and the queen. Alright, where do I go next? There? 0. Oh. So would it be the swan above I need to get? Oh, let's do that one safer first. 1. Okay. I think the swan above it. Right, yes, I did it. So when you do that, you go on to the next stretch of river. The thing is, though, I was hoping for some gradated difficulty. And unless I'm missing something, I can't see any here. It seems to be the game re-randomizes and then you just carry on doing it. And once you get the hang of it, you can just narrow it down and work out how close the queen is. It's a shame there's not more variety between the levels. And in this day and age, the 8k of memory expansion required doesn't matter unless you only have an unexpanded VIC, in which case you might be saying, I'd just rather be doing without that picture of the queen. Perhaps it's more of a challenge for younger players. So, SGATBG. Hope you get told. But Snake games are the best games. I see. Snake games are the best games. It's got 4 levels by Hugo, a name we know well from Vic 20 games, done several excellent games for the Vic and other platforms as well. So it's a snake game. We know how snake games work. You've got to eat the fruit and not eat the mushrooms in this case, and the mushrooms will grow randomly as well, so you have to avoid them. So, right, that fruit there, I've eaten that, so we've got to, my snake gets longer. Now, one criticism I have here is, it is, because of the Vic's scratchy display, and I know some Vics are better than others, it's sometimes hard to see what you're eating. When they're fruit, they're just kind of spidery things, and then you get the yellow things there that are mushrooms, but they could be fruit. Cherries and the apples, melons, pears are distinct enough. It's just those yellow ones, really. And those animated, or is that just dot crawl? I think they are actually animated, but I don't know what they're supposed to be. I'm sure they're drawn nicely, it's just my Vic doesn't have the best rendition for picture, but I have adjusted it. I've shown that in another video. You get a colour change for each level, and you can go off the edge of the screen. And I love the animation on the snake as well, where the previous objects you ate remain in your stomach as you go down. That's a lovely touch. This game runs on an unexpanded Vic 20, which does throw a bit of shade on Grand Theft Cygnus, which requires 8K, although it does have that large graphic. There's varying difficulty levels, and this is the hardest. It's very hard, and the game does ramp nicely up. If you're not keen on snake games, then I guess you might not want this one. Actually, I found it a lot of fun. It's very polished, and as I say, it runs on unexpanded Vic, which is something I'm always seriously impressed by, and it's something Hugo has done, I think, a couple of times before with their games. So that's 4 brand new games for the Vic 20, all published by the future was 8-bit. Super Monza Grand Prix is one of my favourite Vic games of recent times. It is seriously impressive. I think the coder should consider perhaps doing an enhanced version for more RAM to give another circuit or something like that, because if we've got our penultimate cartridges, we got 64K. Build on this. It's quite superb. AJ Layden, you've done a fantastic job. Even a 64 version, wow. Because you know what? This Super Monza Grand Prix is actually better than many C64 races. Rigel Attack on the surface appears to be a standard Galaxions style game. Dig a little bit deeper, get past that first level, and there's a lot of variety in there. It's got that real arcade feel, and I also love the sound effects that Vic does so well. Sounds so reminiscent of arcade games at the time. Grand Theft Cygnus is a fantastic idea. My issue with it is that it does need that extra RAM to run, which is probably explained away by the graphics. It does have a nice tune, but I can't see that difficulty level ramps up. If there was a change every level as it suddenly got harder, I'd be drawn more into the game. But actually after 3 or 4 levels, I was just going, it's the same thing over and over and over. But I think younger players would really enjoy it. Snake games are the best games. Well, if you've got enough snake games already, perhaps you're not going to want to buy it. But I'm playing it and think it's quite fun. Some of the graphics are a little bit indistinct. I would just like to have a little bit more definition between the fruit and the mushrooms at times. It's got 4 levels of gameplay, and it runs on an unexpanded Vic. Great for high score challenges, and I love the little touches like the snake swallowing the fruit and it still being visible as you go across the screen. It's amazing that my computer from 1981 is getting brand new games on cassette released for it in 2023. Thank you to the Future was 8-bit for releasing these games, and thank you to all the coders for going to the effort of producing them. For me, the standout is Super Monza Grand Prix. Not just the standout release on the Vic of the last year, but perhaps the standout release on all the 8-bits of the last year.